Hey, good morning everybody. Griff here. Sitting here today with Jeff behind the camera. What's going on, Jeff?
What up, big dog?
How's everything?
Son, we are back again with another jerkbait tutorial.
There we go.
This is the #1 jerkbait man.
Let's talk about some jerkbaits.
Yes,
all right, guys.
sir.
Hey, good morning everybody. I just want to sit here and talk to you a few minutes about this jerkbait right here. This is the 110 Max LBO. All right. What is a 110 Max LBO? What is an LBO? What does it do different than a 110? Let's talk about it. Look at that. That's a fish. Got him. Did you hear me call that? Did you hear me call that? Hell yeah. Let's break it down, all right? The 110 Max LBO is a oversized version of the 110. All right, so it is sitting at 135 millimeters, 3/4 of an ounce. All right, it has the same shape as a 110, the Vision 110 that we're used to, but there are some subtle and some big differences in the bait. All right. So you see the shape. One of the biggest keys is how tall it is compared to a 110. So, and the weight transfer system. You see the little line in there? It has this little area right here. But that weight transfer system is the linear bearing oscillator. So what it does, it's a tube, has a bunch of bearings in it. And what it does is when you pull it back on your back cast, it slides to the back of the bait. There it is back there, and when you cast it and it hits the water and that bait gets in position, goes back forward and magnetizes itself to the front. Right? So it's not bearings that we're used to on a 110. 110 has a bunch of bearings that shift sides. This right here, and it's not really going to move much once it's there. It's not going to give you a ton of rattle. A little bit, but not a ton. But that little linear bearing oscillator is going to give you that. And what it's going to do, it's going to add a lot of weight to the back of the bait. You can cast it a mile.
A mile.
Right. So we're used to seeing a lot of baits, you know, flap slap LBO, the Z's, all the Z's 1, 2, and 3 all have LBOs in them. We're used to seeing the baits like you're taking small baits and being able to cast them a long way because of that weight transfer system. But now we're getting it in a little bit of a bigger bait and being able to cast it a mile also. So pretty cool. So that bearing system in there, it allows you to cast it better, but it is going to change the action of the bait. The action is going to change, and the way that you work it is going to change. Right? So with a 110, let me grab a 110 here. All right. Let's first start and show you the size difference between the two.
Yeah, pretty big difference.
Yeah, big difference. The 110 is a little bit more slender. Still has the same general look, but this Max LBO is a lot taller. Like if you compare it, it's a lot taller in the back, so it's going to tell you that it's not going to do a lot of things that the jerkbaits normally do. All right, so when you cast this thing out, I love to give it a couple cranks down, get it to depth. It's going to get in that 5-foot range. It's not going to go as far down, and it's also a floating bait. It is not a suspending bait, right? So it's going to be a super slow float, right? But when you work the 110, you're giving it your pops, pop, pop, and you can get pretty aggressive with it, and that 110 is just going to move. It's going to dart all over the place. This bait is not going to do that, all right? So this bait is made for more of a roll than anything. And then you got to find the happy medium. You can't work it too soft or it's just going to go forward like this. You can't work it too hard or it's just going to blow out. So finding that happy medium, once you get there, I like to just give it a couple pops, a couple good hard rips just to see where it's at, depending on the water I'm fishing. If I'm fishing in current, if I'm fishing in still water, if I'm fishing in cold water, if I'm fishing warm water, all of it matters, right? So pay attention to what your bait's doing. You'll find it very easy, and what you're looking for is a little bit of a shift, but more of a roll. So it's gonna, it's gonna roll more than it's gonna jerk. So that's what you're looking for with this. I like to give it its pops. As you're working it, it will stay at depth, okay? So it'll stay in that depth range. Once you pause it, it's gonna do something very interesting. I'm finding I'm getting a lot of bites at this point right here. You'll pause it, it'll roll, it'll pause for a split second, and then as it starts to straighten itself out, it'll give you another twitch. Yeah, it'll go. And that little flash, for some reason, these bass are just coming unglued and they're just boom. And I have been fishing in pretty clear water. It works in all water conditions, but I've been able to observe what's going on under the water. So I'll see these fish dart out from like under a tree or a rock, and they'll be under the bait just watching. I'll give it that single twitch. I know you guys have heard me talk about that single twitch, and then once it does that shimmy, boom, they're smoking it. All right, so it's gonna give you a bigger presentation. I have felt for years that the bigger jerk baits get me the bigger bites. This year I'm learning I'm getting all the bites. All right, so it's not necessarily the bigger bites. All the fish are eating it, right? So this bait is not a super like dominating presence in the water. It still looks like a small bait fish, and they'll eat it. Right there you go. 110 Max LBO. Go out and then throw it. You'll be able to take a long cast. I mean, these casts take a while to get back in because you're not working it as aggressive, giving it some pops. Fish at short range, fish at long range, but it will cast and it rockets out there. All right. When I talk about my rod and reel combo, I am spooling out my reel almost every single time I throw it, but you'll see why. It's not because I'm casting 800 yards.
Oh.
So for the rod and reel that I'm using the Megabass P5 110 Special. All right, 110 Special over 110 stick because it is a little bit more stout. It's gonna be able to throw the bigger jerk baits a lot better. So that 130 size, so that one's a 135. The 130 size, it handles very well. The rating is 3/8 to 3/4, and the rod is a 6'11". All right, so standard jerkbait length. It's got a little bit more strength in there than your standard jerkbait rod too. I feel like it was meant to throw that Max LBO. All right, it still will throw all the other ones, but it throws the Max so well. All right, it's got a really soft tip on that, but it shuts off probably just past mid-length, and it handles that bait very well. So when you're trying to avoid those hard pops on that rod, the rod is bending, so it's not giving you a ton of like blowout on there. So the rod handles it very, very well. I really like this rod, and it's strong enough to fight the fish with those treble hooks on there, but not give too much pull on that. All right, reel I'm using is a Steez CT 70.
Oh wow.
So I am spooling it out every single time. I feel like this reel fits on this rod so well.
Hey.
All right, it will fit your standard 100 size reels also. Steez Limited is another great choice for this rod, but it feels good to me. How's that feel to you, Jeff?
Yeah. Surprisingly, yeah.
Yeah, right? It works, right?
I would have thought it was a little too small, but it
Nope.
feels good on there.
Yeah, it feels good to me. So that's what I'm doing. I'm running a 12-pound shooter fluorocarbon. All right. That 12 pounds is going to also give me a little bit extra stretch that I need when I'm working the jerkbait. So I know you've heard me say I hate stretchy line, but sometimes you need a stretchy line, and I'm not going to a mono. All right, so that shooter fluorocarbon, a little bit extra stretch when I get into the grass, or maybe I'm nicking trees, it's going to give me a lot more abrasion resistance than a lot of the other line that's out there. So that is the line that I'm using, 110 Special and Steez CT 70. All right, guys, that is the 110 Max LBO. That's how I'm using it. I've been having a lot of fun with it. I hope you guys want to give this one a try. It's a great jerkbait. It's going to change the way that you fish jerkbaits a little bit, so it'll give the fish a little bit of a different look, and it'll catch a ton of fish, right? And you will catch bigger fish. Well, I have been catching bigger fish, all right? Even though I'm catching all the other ones, I feel like with a bigger presentation, I'm eliminating some of those smaller bites. Because if the fish are eating a jerkbait, they're eating. They're eating bait fish. They're going to eat a 6-inch one, and they're going to eat a 7-inch one, no problem. All right, guys? All right, so on behalf of everybody here at the Hookup Tackle, Ben, myself, Jeff, everybody, thank you for watching. Thank you for everything. Thank you for your business. Have a great day.